محمد وآل محمد سلام
اللهم
صل على محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. Bismillah is in the beginning of and 3 surahs. And also it is inside Surah Al-Naml, verse 30. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is revealed inside that surah as well. So, which makes the total of 114 Bismillah in the Quran. So we have Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim revealed 114 times in the Holy Quran. Surah starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim shows the end of the previous surah and also shows the start of the next surah. So the narration says, وَإِنَّمَا كَانَ يُعْرَفُ انقضاء السورة انقضاء السورة بنزول بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
الخامسة ابتداء بالأخرى. يعرف مبتدأ بنزول بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ابتداء للأخرى. Okay. So this is the narration from Tafsir Nur al-Thaqalain. Nur al-Thaqalain, Volume 1, page 6. So the إنما كان يعرف انقضاء السورة, the end of the surah, that means end of every surah was known بنزول بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, through the revelation of بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ابتداء الأخرى, and that serves as the start for the next one, next surah. So Bismillah serves as the end of the previous surah and the start of the next surah. So by now we learned this very important points that Bismillah was revealed in the beginning of 113 surahs of the Holy Quran. For the 114th time it was revealed inside Surah Al-Naml verse 30, that makes the total of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in Quran as 114. So Bismillah was revealed 114 times. This is what brings us to the next point. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is revealed 114 times, so each Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim will be having a different meaning. It's a different Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim from the previous one. Every single Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is different and distinguished from the previous one. It is revealed 114 times. Each one has a different meaning. So, shall I erase this? This is what we call this is what is called in the terminology as اختلاف معنوي and اشتراك لفظي. That means difference in the meaning. Commonality of the words. Words used 114 times are the same words. Apparently, these are the same words. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Revealed 114 times the same words. So the words are the common factor in all those 114 revelations. But the difference is in the meaning. Each of those 114 are different from each other. They are revealed 114 times. This is called ikhtilaf al-ma'nawi and ishtirak al-lafzi. So, before I move forward, let me see if I'm missing any point from the previous thing. Let me just double check quickly. Yeah, one point that I was going to mention was that revelation in Surah Al-Naml is related to what the letter of Prophet Sulaiman, right? Letter of Prophet Sulaiman to Queen of Saba. Where it says in the ayat, إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. That this is from Sulaiman, and certainly it's Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, this segment of the ayat is not part of the letter of Prophet Sulaiman, just FYI. What Prophet Sulaiman wrote was this in the beginning of the letter. Prophets and Imams start their conversations and letters with the name of Allah, remembering Allah all the time. So this statement which is there in the ayat of Quran is not part of the letter of Prophet Sulaiman. Don't be confused. That certainly this is from Sulaiman. He's not going to write in his letter in the beginning his own name ahead of the name of Allah. Prophet is not going to do that. Prophet Sulaiman started the letter with the name of Allah. He wrote Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is a statement of the Queen of Saba, who's talking to his higher ups in the bar, in the court, in the palace. قالت يا أيها الملأ إني ألقي إلي كتاب كريم إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So she addresses those higher ups in the court that I have this Kareem letter has been dropped to me, and it is from Sulaiman. So it is from Sulaiman is her statement. That's not written by Prophet Sulaiman himself, that this is from Sulaiman ahead of writing the name of Allah. This is where, we say to our youth who do various types of activisms in the name of Islam, that we bring the name of Allah, name of the Prophet, name of most importantly the Prophet and the rest of the Ahlul Bayt ahead of mentioning the names of disbelievers. So you don't write the name of disbelievers first and write the names of the top of the line believers, the prophets of God later. This is not respectful. So this is the this Bismillah brings the total of all Bismillahs in Quran 114 times. All Bismillah Rahman Rahim in Quran. Bismillah is 115 times, right? Because the word Bismillah only, if you count this much only, that is 115 times in the Holy Quran, because there is one where Prophet Nuh has said when he got aboard the Ark of Noah, his Safina to Nuh, he said Bismillahi majraiha wa mursaha. That was the moment Saha. That was the statement of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam in the Holy Quran when he got aboard the ship. So Bismillah. So if you just count the word Bismillah this much, that's 115 times in the Holy Quran. But if you count Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim, it is 114 times. I think in the Quran it's not written like Ya, right?
No.
You can double check.
It's written by the Alif.
Yeah, I think it's written by Alif, but we pronounce it like Ishmam. Imala, sorry. Al-Imalatul Kubra. That's the only example of Al-Imalatul Kubra, law of Tajweed in the entire Quran. Al-Imalatul Kubra is only one place in Quran. So you twist your pronunciation of the alif. Instead of saying it majra, ha, you twist the alif to sound like a ya. This is called twisting. Imala means twisting, and the bigger twist. The only one place in Quran where we apply this law, and that's the place. So instead of saying majraha, although it's written like this, but we pronounce it as majraiha, complete imala. Okay, coming back to the point. So now this becomes clear that this is the statement of Prophet Sulaiman mentioned in Surah An-Naml. Now let's move forward. So, Ikhtilafun ma'nawi and ishtirakun lafzi. Is that clear? That the word used 114 times, these words are exactly the same without a difference. But it is ikhtilafun ma'nawi, is a difference in the meaning of each of those 114 Bismillah Rahman Rahim are different in meaning from each other. This is called ikhtilafun ma'nawi in the term. So, and the Bismillah, our scholars say, because we require a muta'allaq, and it is connected, it is not disconnected statement. If you disconnect it, it will not be a complete sentence. We already studied that. But in order to make it a complete sentence, it has to be connected. That thing with which you connect is called muta'allaq. We have been talking about muta'allaq in the previous 2 lessons already. So Bismillah Rahman Rahim, as our scholars say, is directly connected to the not only the muta'allaq that we talked about already, but also connected to the nature, to the madameen, to the ma'arif, to the concepts and the contents which are going to be mentioned in the surah after it, for which it serves at the beginning and a title. Bismillah serves, shall I erase this? And let me write one thing before we take the next step. So it's connected to its متعلق plus the contents and ma'arif the in-depth concepts of that surah. This is where the meaning becomes different. So only that person can tell you the minute differences which we are talking about, ikhtilaf al-ma'nawi, differences of the meaning of each of those 114 Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Only that person can tell you those differences of meanings between 114 revelations of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Those people who have comprehensive knowledge of the contents and ma'arif, the concept, in-depth concepts mentioned in that surah for which this Bismillah and the beginning serves as the subject. So in order for you to differentiate between the meanings of those Bismillah, you need to have the comprehensive knowledge of all the concepts mentioned in that surah and all the contents of that surah. Then you can elaborate the differences, otherwise you cannot. Apparently it's just the same. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, our scholars say, comprises of three names of Allah, namely Allah, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Now, as far as Allah, this name Allah goes, this is Ismun A'zam, one of the greatest names of Allah. Allah has 73 Ismun A'zam, right? This is Ismun A'zam, his greatest name of Allah. Allah includes all the attributes of God and all the names included in it. All names, all attributes are included in this. So this is Ismul A'zam. So as far as Ar-Rahim goes, Ar-Rahman goes, Ar-Rahman is such a great name of Allah that it includes all the attributes of Allah as well. All the attributes of Allah are included in this name as well. Okay? So, and our scholars say that in every madhar reflection, it appears with a special name. It includes all the names. Ar-Rahman includes all the names of Allah in it. It represents all the names. But when it appears in different madhab, different reflections, it comes and appears in those different reflections, it shows a special name of Allah. In every reflection, in every madhab, it shows a special name. And those of the surahs of Quran, the surahs comprising of surahs of Quran that comprises mercy, ayat of Quran, verses of Quran that talk about mercy of Allah, and sifatul jamal. Sifatul jamal, the attributes of beauty of Allah. Those are the surahs of Quran which talk about mercy of Allah, dominated in those surahs, and sifatul jamal. Allah's attributes are divided into two, attributes of beauty and attributes of majesty. If the surah is talking about mercy of Allah and attributes of beauty of Allah, this name appears in as a form or a face of beauty. So those are the surahs in which the contents include mercy, and the contents of the surah includes the attributes of beauty of God. This name appears in the face of beauty. Whereas those of the surahs, let me write here, those of the surahs of Quran which comprise of anger, wrath of Allah, ghadab of Allah, plus sifatul jalal, attributes of majesty of Allah. This name appears as a form or face of majesty. So the word is the same. We are talking about how we determine the ikhtilaf al-ma'nawi, the meaning difference of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim between 114 revelations. This is how we determine. So this is one of the ways. One ways we talked about already, depending on the overall ma'arif and concepts and overall contents of the surah. The third, and the muta'allaq, which is whatever, we already talked about that. It's hidden or in the verb form, on the noun form, all those various possibilities we already talked about. That's one possibility. The other thing is that the contents, and we analyze the concept in terms of, does the contents of the surah talk about mercy of Allah or not in that surah? or the contents are comprised of the Sifatul Jamal or not, then the name will have a different face. It will reflect the face of beauty. It will have the face of beauty. And if the contents of the surah has ghadab and wrath of Allah talked in that surah, or Sifatul Jalal of Allah, then this name will have a face, wajh, a face of Jalal and majesty in it. This is how it is.
This is about Rahim or?
This is about Rahman. And this is why, this is for the reason I just mentioned, for this reason why some of the scholars say that Ar-Rahman is also Ismun A'zam of Allah, one of the greatest names of Allah, Ismun A'zam. So, now, there are something, shall I erase this?
So for surahs that have mercy, the Rahman means Sifat al-Jamal.
It becomes a face and wajh and a face to reflect those aspects. And the same Ar-Rahman becomes a face to reflect those aspects in this case. Although it includes all the attributes, but like I said, in every madhar, like my teacher said, in every madhar, the reflection changes. But in general, it includes all the attributes. So it deserves to be called Ismun A'zam as well, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like the word Allah. Now the discussion of why Surah At-Tawbah does not have Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim on top of it, in the beginning of it. Why Bismillah was not revealed in the beginning of Surah At-Tawbah. Well, some Mufassirin say that because Surah At-Tawbah comprises of the ghadab of Allah. Mentioning of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim does not add up with the ghadab of Allah in the surah. This is how some people, some of us say, but this is not an acceptable argument. And it contradicts with some of the other surahs of Quran. If you accept this argument should be equally applicable everywhere else, whereas it is not equally applicable everywhere else. It contradicts. How does it contradict? Let me give you an example. Okay, let's go to Surah Al-Masad. Let's take the example of Surah Al-Masad. Right? تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب ما أغناك عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد. Right? This surah is talking about ghadab and wrath of Allah on Abu Lahab and his wife. They are condemned by Allah. They are obviously in the hellfire. We learn from the surah very easily. So this surah talks about the wrath of Allah, ghadab of Allah clearly. Then why does Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim come in the beginning of that surah? Why did Allah reveal Bismillah in the beginning of that surah? So this argument is not an acceptable argument. This is the reason why Bismillah was not revealed in the beginning of Surah At-Tawbah. That's not acceptable. My teacher said that ihtimalan, obviously these are ihtimalat. We don't know. These are ihtimalat. Ihtimalan, and probably the reason why it's not revealed is because Surah At-Tawbah is considered to be a continuation of Surah Al-Anfal. Because it's considered to be a continuation of Surah Al-Anfal, this ihtimalan, this is the reason why different Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim was not revealed. Again, this is just a probability, we don't know. And so this is one thing. The second thing which my teacher said that against this argument, this is a very clear example to counter this argument. Surah Al-Masad is a very clear example to counter the argument. The second thing my teacher said was this. Some ayat of Quran, are such that in one ayat of Quran you find the wrath aspect and the mercy aspect in one ayat. You find the wrath aspect and the mercy aspect both are combined in just one ayat of Quran. If that was the reason, that because Allah is about to talk about things which refer to His ghadab and wrath, so this is why He is not revealing Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Although Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is a different ayat and those upcoming verses are different ayats, even in one ayat you find some of the times the one same ayat has ghadab aspect also mentioned in that same ayat plus the mercy aspect. For example, our teacher said, دابر القوم الذين ظلموا والحمد لله رب العالمين. There's one ayat of Quran which has both the aspects combined in just one ayat. فَقُطِعَ دَابِرُ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So, in this light of this verse, we learn that that nation was the zalim, the oppressive nation, was punished and destroyed by Allah, and all the praise belongs to the Lord of the universe. So it has the aspect of mercy and aspect of wrath both in one single ayat. So Allah can even combine aspect of mercy and wrath in one ayat. Why couldn't Allah bring Bismillah ar-Rahman in the beginning of the surah then? This ayat is, Surah Al-An'am, verse number 45. For those of you who want to guess the reference, Al-An'am, verse 45. Shall I erase it? So, up till now, we have learned that Ar-Rahman is also Ismun Azam of Allah, and we also learned that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim has a different meaning for each of those revelations that Allah has. For this ayat, 114 revelations, so we have 114 different meanings. It's connected to the contents and ma'arif of the surah. It has, so this is what we have learned up till now. Now let's go to some fiqhi rulings of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
I have one question. So, is it correct this surah is all revealed as all at once together, the surah Tawbah?
I don't remember that. I have to check. Each surah has a different revelation. I don't remember
So it
if
has
Surah At-Tawbah
it has around
was revealed
129
in one shot or not. I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I can check and let you know, inshallah. But different. Some surahs are revealed in one shot. Some surahs are revealed in pieces.
Mhm.
Like a lot of surahs are revealed in pieces. Surah Al-Baqarah is a very good example, revealed in several pieces. The last ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah is revealed just before the departure of the Holy Prophet, which is the last revelation of Quran. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. That's the last revelation of the Prophet, which is part of Surah Al-Baqarah. So, for Surah Al-Tawbah, I don't remember right now. I can check and let you know.
See, is it possible the Bismillah is not included because of as a way to reprimand the Muslims?
Well, I haven't read that in any of the aqwal of the various tafsir. I haven't read anyone saying that. So I can't say. There is none of the mufassirin have said that. Let's go to some fiqh aspects.
How much time do we have?
6 minutes.
Okay. Rules of fiqh that apply to Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
The first thing is that Qira'ah is haram to recite. For those people who are in certain najis state, that is, we're talking about the Bismillah of Surah Al-Aza'im. The Bismillah of the Surah Al-Aza'im is haram to recite for some people who are in certain najis situations. Surah Al-Aza'im are those surahs which have one ayat of Quran, which you, if you read yourself or you hear by paying attention yourself completely, you have to do drop down in sajda immediately without delay. Even if you are driving, you have to pull over to the shoulder and do the sajda first things first, or you don't read it. So those are 4 Surah Al-Aza'im with the ayats of Quran with wajib sajda on it. So it's haram to read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim of that surah because that's part of the surah for certain people who are in the najis state.
Is it just the Bismillah that's haram or the entire surah?
Even Ba cannot be recited. Even the Ba of Bismillah with the niyat of being part of Bismillah, which it is part of it. And if you are reciting one of the Surah Al-Aza'im, one of those 4 surahs which has wajib sajda ayat in it, and with the niyat of that surah you are reciting Bismillah ar-Rahman, even the word letter Ba is haram to read because for those people who are in certain mental state.
But it applies to all the ayahs of that surah, right?
All the ayats, yeah, including even one letter of Bismillah, even Ba is haram to read. So the second thing is that it means Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, must be recited the niyat of that specific surah. So if you recite Surah Al-Fatiha in the prayers and then after that you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and now you start thinking, okay, let me decide which surah shall I choose. Shall I read Qul Huwallahu Ahad or Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas? Okay, let me read Al-Qari'atum Al-Qari'ah. Now that you make up your mind that you want to read Al-Qari'atum Al-Qari'ah, now you have to repeat Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim because earlier the Bismillah which you recited, you were undecided, right? Now after reciting Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you made up your mind, let me recite Surah Al-Qari'ah. Now you have to repeat Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim again with the niyat and intention of that specific surah that you now decided, which is Al-Qari'ah in this example. Because you have to recite Bismillah of that surah. That Bismillah which you recited was not of any surah because you weren't decided. So it must, Bismillah must be recited with the niyat of that specific surah which you are about to read to be accepted. If you omit Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, your surah is incomplete, your surah recitation is incomplete, your salat will be batil if you intentionally omit Bismillah. Our Sunni brothers don't read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in any surah except Surah Al-Fatiha. They consider Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim to be part of Surah Al-Fatiha only. We, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, consider Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim to be part of every surah for which it is revealed in the beginning, 113 surahs.
Sayyidina, here there is some difference between some surahs, right?
Sorry?
Is there a difference between for some surahs or they're all the same for the second one?
No,
Like
for
what
all
way?
those surahs for which there is a Bismillah there, except Surah At-Tawbah doesn't have it. So for all the rest of the 113 surahs, if you are reciting that, obviously we are not allowed to recite Surah Al-Azaim in the Salat. That's not allowed. You have to break your qiyam in standing state, in standing position, and you have to drop down in sajda. So we don't do that. We don't read, it's not allowed to read one of those 4 surahs where sajda ayat is there. So other than those 4 surahs of Quran, and we cannot even read long surahs in the prayers if the time is short. For example, Surah Al-Baqarah, Al Imran, or other long surahs of Quran, we are not allowed to choose those in the salat if the time is too short. But if these time is not short, you are free to choose any of the surahs in the salat other than the 4 surahs of sajda, and then other than Surah At-Tawbah, it doesn't have Bismillah. If you're reading any other surah, you have to read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim with the niyat of that surah.
There's nothing special about Surah Al-Ikhlas and
There's
Surah
nothing special
Al-Kafirun.
about Surah Al-Ikhlas.
Kafirun.
Yeah, no, any surah you can read, but like I explained, not long surahs at the time short, not Surah Al-Azaim. Other than that, we can read any surah, but just make sure when you read Bismillah that your niyat is specified. This Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim belongs to that specific surah which I'm about to read. That's how it will be counted. Otherwise, it's ikhtilaf al-ma'nawi and ishtirak al-lafzi. We just studied in the previous lesson, previous part of the lesson, that the mean word apparently is the same, but the meaning of each Bismillah is different. So I don't want to read a different Bismillah because I'm reading about to read Surah Al-Qari'ah, for example.
Is there anything like when you recite Surah Bismillah for Surah Ikhlas, then you have to finish it, or that's, or you cannot switch?
Yeah, if you recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, it's better that we finish it. And likewise, Surah Al-Kafirun,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
it's better to finish it. That's there. Some of the mujtahideen say if you pass half of the surah, then you finish it in the salat.
It's mustahab, it's not like
Some of the mujtahideen say if it's less than half, you can drop it. Some mujtahideen say, even if you start it, just finish it. So it's a little bit controversy, but yes, there are about these 2 surahs. The bottom line is that if these 2 surahs should be finished once you recite it.
Mustahab,
It's mustahab, it's not wajib, it's mustahab.
Even if you just say Bismillah.
In the fatwa of some other, you can leave it because you did not reach the half of the surah. In the case you change your mind, for example, you switch. Now, after Surah Al-Fatiha, first you had the intention, okay, let me read Qul Huwallahu Ahad. But then you change your mind, no, let me read Idha Zulzilatil Surah Al-Zilzal, Idha Zulzilatil Ardu Zilzalaha. Now that you change your mind, Bismillah should now be repeated. If you already said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim with the niyat of Surah Al-Ikhlas, and after saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, now you are undecided and you want to switch to a different surah, you have to read the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim again with the niyat of that surah that you have decided and made up your mind to read now.
So let's say I had a niyat of reciting Surah Zilzal, and I said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Now, you're saying that I wanted to read Surah Zilzal, but I said Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Now it's recommended that we finish it. So if we finish it, then do we go back and read Surah Zilzal, the 3rd surah, or no, we usually do 2 surah in each rakat, right? Alhamdulillah, Surah Qul.
Yeah, if you read Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad and you said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim with the niyat of that surah, and you said recited complete surah, you don't have to read the third surah now.
But I had a niyat of reading Zilzal, but
Correct.
the Kul Allah came out.
Correct, but you recited with your niyat, right? You have the niyat of reading Bismillah with the niyat of that surah. If you read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim with the niyat of that surah and you now want to complete it, fine. If you complete it, you are done with your wajib.
Okay. But if you read third surah, there is no harm.
We don't read the third surah.
You don't.
We don't read the third surah. Yeah, third surah is not recited unless those are the two surahs which are revealed together, which are recited together. Like we have Surah Al-Duha and Alam Nashrah Laka Sadrak, and Surah Al-Fil, and what's the surah? In the Ilaf Quraysh, Surah Quraysh.
Yes,
Surah
sir.
Al-Fil and Quraysh are always recited together, and Surah Al-Duha and Al-Inshirah, Al-Nashrah Laka Sadrak are always recited together. So those surahs, if you happen to choose even in the Salat, one of those two surahs after Fatiha, you have to read the other surah as well, along with it always. So those are always recited together.
So usually, as a matter of habit, is it good or bad? We usually recite Kul Huwallahu Ahad, right? But I wanted to read Surah Zilzal, for example, and as a matter of habit, Kul Huwallahu came out. The Bismillah was for Surah Zilzal, but the Kul Huwallahu came out of
Yeah,
the mouth.
so
as a
yeah,
habit. So what do we do?
No, you can, this is not going to be counted. First of all, Qul Huwallahu is not going to start from Qul Huwallahu Ahad, start from Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Right, so depends on which mujtahid you are following. Because some mujtahideen, like I said, say, unless you are up till the half of the surah, you can omit it. Okay, so unless you are at the half of the surah, you can omit it. Some say no, if you started it, finish it. So it depends on different views of some mujtahideen. But bottom line is that this Qul Allah recitation is not going to be counted. Don't move forward with that because you did not say Bismillah with the niyat of that surah.
So Bismillah, then restart with Surah Zilzal. Okay.
You have to do Surah Al-Zilzal with Bismillah.
Oh, you don't have to
Because
repeat the Bismillah again.
Because Qul Allahu Ahad, you did not start from the Bismillah. If you started from the Bismillah, that's how you enter into the surah. Sallallahu ala sayyidina wa